Hey everybody, it's JC with Hangar Ready. I hope everybody's having a great day today. And we've got a big show, a lot more people on than normal. I've got co-hosts coming out my ear holes, we'll say. And we're going to show you everybody. So with me today is also Jolly.
Yep.
Say hello, Jolly.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Turing.
Hello.
And we have Callie Josh.
Hey.
And we have Nomidius.
Hey there.
And finally, we have Hendrosa.
Howdy.
This is his first time being stuck on here with us. So, I apologize. I'm having a little bit of network errors here. That's on with us as our producer, Jaglin, who's here in studio. And she's not going to come on camera probably, but for a second. And then Shap Cap is handling our questions and comments. So he's monitoring chat. And then finally, we have Free Curse, 4-star, and Lacoste handling chat mod. So we should be good to go. This is going to be a busy episode, I think. We've got a lot to talk about. And I think we're going to have a really good time. Maybe a little bit of a long show, but this will be our last show for a while. We'll go ahead and go back to doing once a month because it looks like most of the COVID stuff is over and lots of people are starting to head back to work. So with that said, let's talk about segment number one. Jolly, survival consumables. I know that we put this on here. What are your thoughts about the food and drink in 3.9?
Yeah, the five of us had a long discussion, much discussion, and a sixth and seventh person about the impact of the consumables on the gameplay and stuff like that. Some positive, some negative. Overall, at this stage, and this is something I have to remind myself more than anything else is, look, it just came out. It's brand new to the game. It's in test. It's got further fixes that have to go through. A lot of fixes, I would say, before it really becomes a part of the game as opposed to a nuisance, which right now, that's all it is a nuisance to the game. But I also understand, let's wait for 3.9.1, see what changes are made there, 2, 3, 4.0, and then it'll get a lot better. I'm going to make that assumption. Part of my concerns is you have to worry now about your water and your hunger. Okay, surprise. You play any survival game, it's the exact same thing you have to worry about there all the time. Do you eat enough berries? Do I kill enough rats? Do you get enough water source with the case of B? Now it's added to the space game. Not that big a deal as long as it's not interfering with gameplay. Right now, it's interfering with gameplay. I'm not saying it's going to in the future, but right now it is. But it is alpha, so keep that in mind. There's a really good test was put out there. Somebody put 30 hours into it. I forget the name of the man who did the whole work. I watched this whole video. I thought it was really well done. He's trying to come up with a gauge of how quickly do we lose water and food based upon our activities and stuff like that. He's going to do a lot more testing with the case of B. He thought he came up with a pretty good estimation as for how quickly we lose stuff based upon our activity and what equipment we'd be wearing, etc. However, during gameplay, I found that not to be hold true. I don't know why. I don't know if it's glitches with the case of B. Sometimes your water seems to go down at a steady rate, no big deal. Doing the exact same activities, also it leaps down. So if you rehydrate yourself, things going back up there again. So that part's pretty well still in flux. And maybe that's part of they're twisting it around, trying to tweak it, make it better with the case of B. They had said initially, I think it was you go 7 hours without drink and 10 without water, or it's 10 without food.
And that's completely
lying.
Yeah, that's not true. I
They're
know
lying.
I would run out well before 7 hours before I need to drink again. So we know that, again, alpha, it needs to be tweaked further. Well, hopefully that comes out like that. That's my general view of the whole thing. Right now, pain in the ass, but I also realize it's under development.
Okay. And Turn, what's your thoughts on the cruddy stuff?
Well, I think again, if you take the viewpoint, just like Jolly said, that it's an alpha test. So what does that mean to me? That means they're ramping up the effects in order to test whether or not it's working or not. Right now, that means things are going to come faster than what was previously kind of laid out in the discussion. I think when they were talking about that 7 hours or 10 hours, they were probably talking about end state of some sort. Now what I find is that once you start to lose hydration in general is the one that really is kind of inconsistent. Once you start losing hydration, it will drop at an inconsistent rate sometimes. Even if you hydrate back, it's almost like it'll just go right back to starting dropping again. So once you got that, once the timer clicks over, or once the light bulb goes off for hydration, you are always going to have a hydration problem for that gameplay session. It does not matter what you do, you will continue to experience a hydration problem. Food, I haven't experienced a drop so much in that. That looks like it's kind of set to that activity dependent or overall timer dependent piece of it. The other thing I find that is real frustrating is that once you take one sip, I mean, I like the mechanic of opening the bottle and doing all that. It's great. But once you take one sip, you can't stow what's left in that bottle back into your backpack. You either have
what's up
to
with
drain
that?
it. You either have to drain it, or you have to
Litter
now
the ship.
it's really nice. You can share it with the rest of your team, and that's fantastic. I think Jay Jolly, last time we've been playing over the last few days, we've done that. I mean, we've kind of shared and helped each other out. But this one and no stow anymore, that's kind of stupid. The other thing is you can't store everything. So bottled items, fruit, and the MRE beef chunks that you get are the only things that can go into your backpack. Everything else, you just got to eat it right. You got to eat it right there, and that really kind of cuts back on the ability to go to say a rest stop and pick up something, because all you can pick up is the bottled water. If you're lucky enough to grab the one that's go to the one that's got the green juicer kiosk, you can grab something else that's going to help you a little bit with hydration or fruit. Otherwise, you can't stow those burritos or those hot dogs, baby. You just got to eat them right there.
Yes, it's an absolute nightmare. Now, Josh, you haven't been playing a whole lot, but have you got to experience the crapola that is food and drink yet?
Yes, I have, and I wouldn't recommend sharing your drinks during COVID-19. But
I think it's safe on Star Citizen.
Yeah.
But
no,
hold on. But placing the bottle onto the countertop in the Carrack seems to cause desync.
It turns you into a specter.
It does.
Oh wow!
I mean, it did. It turned it into a specter. Suddenly, you turned around, and here comes Jay floating across the Carrack.
Nice.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Josh.
No, you're good. So I did, and I was at Port Olisar picking up our uniform, and I saw they had these little MRE packets, which kind of bring back terrible memories. And so I picked up a few of those, and I really didn't, have any thoughts about using them. But going in and doing some mining stuff with a friend of mine, I saw my food start to drain down, and it doesn't replenish just because you log out and log back in. So I'll be honest, I don't really like it. I was in quantum travel, and it was pretty obvious I needed to eat and drink. And I had to get out of the seat, which you're not really supposed to do. So there's lots of little bugs and things that I don't like. I'm not a big fan of the mechanic. I wouldn't mind having the need to put that stuff in your inventory or have it on your ship. But to make me take 6 drinks of a soda to rehydrate, I don't know. It doesn't add gameplay that I'm interested in.
Well, now here's a secret. If you hold down the left mouse button after you start the drink, you'll drink the whole thing if you want.
One click.
In one click.
Oh.
So there is a trick there so you don't have to constantly, go down and inner thought and drink again, and then thought and drink again.
Yeah, you don't even have to start the inner thought to go for it. You can just automatically hold down that left button and it'll go.
There you go.
So you can chug like a good college student.
Keep in mind,
Correct.
that means you can't share if you have leftovers. You hit 100%. You can drink more if you want to. Go right ahead. It's your bottle of water. You bought it. But you can't share it. It's one thing to keep in mind. Also, you cannot eat or drink while you're flying, and that's part of the problem too. I guarantee you have enough box nasties while it's flying. You can indeed carry out that task.
Yeah.
So that's something you work on too.
Yeah. And if you're a single seater, you got a real problem.
Make sure you're well
I got to
fed.
see you're well hydrated before you leave this port.
The one thing that comes into play that's kind of an issue is access to food and water. Now, again, Alpha, I'm sure they're going to expand them out more, There's only certain places you get certain things. Port All-Star, for example, during initial testing, you can actually get both water and MREs at Consumables. Now you can't get the MREs. It's water only. It's all you get there is water, nothing else. That's it. And some of the R&Rs, for example, I left an R&R today for L5, I think it was. Water only, nothing else there to eat. So you have to make sure you have to walk around that stuff in your backpack, as the case may be. Some fan made a great map, beautiful map of a new Babbage, laid out the whole 9 yards, everything that's there. He really did a great professional work. And I'm looking on the map, and he showed the food sources, where you get food and water at. That whole beautiful base, and there's 3 locations that you get food and water. And I thought, you know what? That means the rest of the stores are absolutely useless to me. I don't care. They're pretty, but I can't use them in the game. And again, I'm talking gameplay, or not how the game looks. The game looks fantastic. But gameplay-wise, that's a negative. I really wish they would make the vending machines operational, and that would take care of all those problems.
Yep.
Yeah. And as Chad's pointing out, Jolly, they did put in the MREs back at the weapon shop there at PO.
Yeah, at PO.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So and I would say check all the weapon shops if you come across. They might be there as well. So and then my R&R experience, there are some more accessible stuff that's there, and I remember seeing at New Babbage, there are some places that have the little MRE container that's out. They just haven't populated that yet. So maybe in the future, like you say, they're going to add more options in places.
We also found across at Casaba's where the little stand that has all the water, it was out of water. And that surprised the hell out of us. It's like, damn it, no.
No, I completely agree. Nom, what are your thoughts on the wonderful world of Eat and Drink Simulator Star Citizen?
Well, I was very negative on it when it first was announced, and I was like, "Oh, great, they're going to turn it into Ark or Rust." But it's not as bad as I feared, but more than I thought it would be right now. I was hoping it would just be kind of something enough there for the our role players to mess around with, but it actually is a factor.
Well, it's a massive nuisance.
Yeah. Well, if you look in your journal in game, there's a whole note on nutrition. It explains it says what all the buffs and debuffs are, like energizing and all that, but it's not always clear. And you don't always know to what degree it affects it. So you got things like, I think, which one was it? Synergy? No. Cruise Flow. It has water and food in it.
Right.
But it buffs both. But it does, if you drink it, you see a little plus sign occur over both water and food.
Right.
And hopefully that prolongs the period where neither are going down. But we don't know how long that's going to be. That might be something that's, even if you're already at 100, that might be something worth for a pilot of a Hornet, say, who can't get out on a long flight to drink. Maybe he'll drink that just before he gets into the cockpit so he has more fly time.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they could give you a little bit more information on that HUD, and I don't mind even just going into my inner thought where it expands out those little temperature and food and water icons. If you're going to give me a buff, show me. I mean, show me something that says, "Hey, I got more stamina," or "Hey, I got a little bit more strength," or "Hey, I got something." If you're going to build it into the play, give me some feedback so I know what I'm doing. Because right now, if I drink something that's I know the immune booster is not doing anything right now because there's no disease or anything like that in the game, and they built it in right now so that they have the ability to both vertically and horizontally expand this, which is great. I like that, but show me something that's a benefit to me rather than that just little plus symbol above the water and food. And even then I would contend that half the time that didn't mean diddly squat for me because I still started to drop water even if I had the plus symbol.
It's very inconsistent. There may be some factors to do just with the location you're in, the suit you're wearing or something, who knows, because they're not giving us enough information. The energizing buff, it actually puts a plus sign over your beats per minute. So I would assume that means you got more stamina. Your heart rate doesn't go up quite as fast. Right. So maybe you can sprint longer, or maybe you can run further in heavy armor. But we don't. That would require some testing.
Yeah.
And let me see. There was a couple of things I was thinking about. Yeah, just the no stowables. The R&R stations is really where they need to put that stuff so that it's really accessible. And
Yeah,
vending machines.
well, I think
Yeah.
the other thing too,
Yeah,
Nam,
turn on
would
the vending
be
machines.
Big vending
yeah,
pits, so live off of it.
the other thing is, why don't you put something at a spaceport? Who here hasn't landed at an airport and there's not something to buy when you walk off the flipping plane?
Yeah,
You know,
immediately.
but immediately, and so they don't have that available here, and it's just like one of those things that. Did you really think about this? I mean, I'm just stopping for some gas here. I don't want to run all the way to the food court.
You're bringing up a real good point, and I'll use Laurelville as an example. Though, don't fly into Laurelville right now.
Yeah.
Under any
Public service
circumstances.
announcement.
we'll get to later.
We'll get to that segment too.
But you come out of the halves. Okay, I want to pick up some food and water. Turn left, get to the metro ship. Well, I got to turn right, go all the way down to find some food and water. Load up at that, then come all the way back up to get to the metro and go get my ship, get in there, get really playing the game. So that's the reason why there needs to be some convenience given to the players when they're getting that flow going, to get actually into the game itself, not playing around in a space station. Oh,
yeah, if they want to make things for us to do, I think we'll get into this maybe more later, but mining has some deep things where you can learn about it, and they've got mining consumables, and that's interesting to me because you're talking about a real gameplay mechanic that has a benefit to you and it is part of the intended design. I just can't buy into the food thing. I don't like it. I don't want to have to discover it. Again, I don't mind having to carry it or be on my ship, but I don't want to have to stop and eat. I want to be able to do what's in the game, and I wish they'd focus on in-game stuff that's intended, not adding things like this, in my honest opinion.
You're bringing up a really good point, Josh. That's a good analogy, too, is the mining expendables that are out there. Here's mining and my ability to do it. And then if I want to, here's some additional stuff that can make it do better. Right? Food and water. Here it is right now. I get stuff that make me do worse unless I take care of it. And so that's something to keep in mind, but that's a good analogy. Oh, and keep in mind, you can only carry 8 different types of items. They have to be absolutely identical in order to stack. So if you go over, you see like 3 different types of water. Oh, let's get one of each. That's three of your 8 slots, buddy. You may want to get
Jolly,
3 of one.
Jolly, actually, that's I tested that. That's not correct.
Oh, yes, it is. I got it right now.
For
I've
us.
got multiple ones.
I know what you're saying. You got 8 slots, but it's kind of maybe I don't know where it's a bug or not. But I've loaded up 9 different types of items. Of course, you didn't see one. The moment I cleared one slot, the one that was missing showed up.
So it's still there. You just can't see it. You just can't access it. You just can't access it. Access it. So you can store more than 10. You store up to your limit. I mean, you can store as many as you want as long as you don't store more than the suit can hold. But you can only see 8 things at one time, and you can't select among the things you can't see and bring it to the front.
Right.
Well, before we continue on, we need to bring Hendrosa into this conversation. The jailbird should have some opinions on food and water and trying not to die from exposure. So tell us about that, Hendrosa.
I know the rest of you guys have kind of beaten it to death here, so I won't harp on it. But one of the things
harp, beat it, kill the horse.
So my main thing that I wanted to kind of get across is I have to disagree with Josh just a little bit, because I do like the fact that, how many games do you actually see out there nowadays where it's incorporated, food or water and things like that? And I think the time thing is pretty accurate, as far as water goes and being hydrated. And I really haven't had to, eat food. If I'm sitting there and I'm doing like one of my streaming sessions, I look down and I really don't have to eat food. But as far as hydration goes, how many games do you say, like, you see it when it pops up and it's like, hey, why not take a break? You've been playing for 2 hours. And I think it's a good thing to relate in the real world. Like, hey, you've been into this for so long, and there's times where I'll be like, damn, did I even take a drink that whole, that whole streaming session? So it kind of helps out in the real world thing, but I think the time aspect of it is kind of on point. Now, I will agree that, yes, it's a brand new mechanic coming in, and there's still a lot of work to be done. But in some of the ships, we've already talked about the fighters, but some of the ships, especially the multi-crew bits, they need to find a way, and they need to find a way, I think quickly, kind of what we were talking about with making it accessible. If you have to land in a fighter, get out, not having to run all the way in, just hit the vending machine right there, get back in your ship and go, is being able to store it in your ship, having a fridge or something like that to where you can stockpile it. That way, if you're going out for a while, you're going out. I don't want to have to stop and look for you know, a station or something like that to go and refill up, or, you know, pick up some more stuff, you know, pick up more food, more drink, or whatever it is. And let's say, you know, one of the members of your crew actually forgot their stuff. Hey man, hit the fridge in the back. I got some water back there for you. You know, and it'll make the gameplay more interesting, and not to mention, you know, remind you like, oh crap, let me grab my water bottle right here too while I'm drinking, you know, and keep you going.
It sure seems like they should have. It sure seems like they should have. You know, I don't know, on some of the larger ships that are recent, gotten the kitchens working where you could stock food in them and things like that. I mean, you know, we fly around during when we're streaming quite a bit, and you know, Jolly and Turin and Jaglin here recently on a Karak, which has this fully, you know, there's food, quote, in the kitchen, but it's not actually there. They've got to do something in that space to make it better, in my opinion. Final thoughts, Jolly.
Yeah, keep in mind, it's an alpha feature in an alpha game. Give it a break. I need to give it a break.
Yeah, it still sucks, though.
It does.
50-50. 50-50.
Okay. Real quick, we've got a question for all of our viewers that we're going to be asking at the end of this, which is, what unplanned feature would you like to see added to Star Citizen? If you have a feature that you'd like to see added to Star Citizen, please add that to chat at Shapcap, and he's going to make a list of those, and we'll go over them. Also, if you have other questions, please at Shapcap those questions, and he's going to compile a list for us to answer at the end of the show. We got a big show tonight, and believe it or not, we are not maxed out on Skype users. We, in theory, could bring on more people to talk, but 6 is probably enough. So we're definitely ugly enough that too many more would start breaking computer screens. Guys, if you're watching and you got friends or you're on a Discord and they're interested in Star Citizen, go at them real quick and tell them, hey, come watch these goofy guys talk about a silly computer game and make fun of them. So